Okay, so what we're going to be doing in this little webinar is talking about how to use Google Drawings as an interactive tool. I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I've set up, and then if you've got any questions or if you've got any ideas about how it can be used, just ask them. And then as we go through, if you have questions about anything else Google related, it'll just be kind of an added benefit. So I'm going to change my screen. And I'm going to go over here to this one. So can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. So on here what we've got are a couple of different things. First one is one that I called fridge magnets. And the thing you have to remember about Google Drawings is it's very similar to Paint. It's got some basic tools that you can use to add a color background. You can add images, shapes, lines, colors, images from your computer. If you don't want to use the images they have, you can add through the insert menu. You can add images from Google search. It'll let you do a Google safe search to find images to add to it. But a lot of people will use this to make images. Like for instance, I used it to make the image for the weekly webinar, the Tech Time thing. And but there's also the thought that you can use this as a drag and drop tool. So so what I've done here is I just found a picture of a refrigerator and did a whole fridge magnets thing. So you match the English with the Spanish, and so kids can drag this over and they can say, dog is gosh, I hope I get this right. Is that correct? Perro? I don't know.
I think so.
And then cat is gato. And then sister and hermana, and of course, you kind of get the whole feel for it. So this is really simple. All I did, like I said, is I just put the words on here. I added some text boxes and added the fridge. You can put instructions up here, and then you just use the shapes. Thing about shapes is when you use the shape tool, you just click on the shape you want, draw it. You can fill it with any color that you want, and then you double click inside it to type whatever you want to appear inside the box. So it's pretty easy to do. If you wanted to use something like this, you could do it where you just make it and put it on the smart board or whatever interactive device you've got, and you could have the kids come up and drag and drop and move them around, and it's pretty simple. But if you wanted to, you could also put this on a Google Classroom. And because Google Classroom allows you to, let's see, let me find it. Because it allows you to add a document to an assignment. For instance, we could put this one for fridge magnets on there. And because it allows you to make a copy for each student, you could make the fridge magnet be their assignment. So by doing make a copy for each student, they'll each get their own, and they could drag and drop and put the like pairs together like we did with this one, and then turn it in as an assignment, and then you can go back and review what they did to see if they get it right, and then you could give them points for doing that. So it's just kind of a different way to do work. Instead of giving them a standard worksheet where they write it in, they could just do the drag and drop instead, and then turn that in as their work. So
I like that idea.
Yeah, it's pretty simple to do, and it's no different from making a doc or a slideshow or something like that as an assignment. You're just doing a Google drawing, and kids react differently to stuff like this than they would say something that they have to type in their answers. So
Right.
Another one is a number line. This is getting way outside of my realm of understanding in the world of math, but it would basically be one of those things where you could put the number line out there, and then you could leave this on here, and you could say, you could have a different drawing for different questions, and you could have them demonstrate understanding of a range of values. You could say, show me a range of values that includes, I don't even know what I'm talking about here, but you get the point. They could put the they could put the line on there on the graph and size it exactly as it's supposed to be
Right.
to portray the values that they're supposed to represent on the number line. So like show all values less than 0 but greater than -7, and they could put that on there, so
Right.
in the proper range, and then they could turn it in. And so it's pretty simple to do. Another one, somebody came up and asked me about Google Forms. They said what they don't like about Google Forms is they can't put a word bank on. And because a Google form will allow you to put pictures in, one of the things I've told people is, like, let's say, for instance, you have, what's this word bank from? Okay, so this is a math quiz. And so, like, the questions would be about, slope or hypotenuse or something like that. And you could say, use the word bank. And which word, phrase, or value represents slope. Okay. Or any number of things, but basically what you could do though is you could make your word bank. Here I've done, this is something that's different. This one was really made to do what we did back on the classroom, where you could actually upload this, and you could say, I give you the word, you write the symbol. So like in a triangle, in a right triangle, what represents the slope?
Right.
I'm sorry, in a slope-intercept equation. And so they could say slope is m, the y-intercept is b, the hypotenuse of a triangle is usually c. They could write those things in. But what you could do with a word bank that would be different, you also have table tools. So you could insert a table, and then you could make your word bank like this. And, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. But, like, give me an example of something that you would need a word bank for.
Well, I don't know, even if you were having them do an activity with their spelling list on here, you could have them like insert a drawing that goes with your spelling word, or you could even have them matching like their spelling word with like synonym or its antonym.
Okay.
You could have 2 word banks for that.
True. Okay. So, like, you could say your word bank, well, let's go back to Spanish, or you could do the antonyms and synonyms. So you could do like, you could put A values, like ABC values in here for the word banks. And then you could put pictures in there, okay?
Yes.
Like sight words, okay? You could put, let's put, whoops. Like maybe you're doing sight words with kids and you want an apple. Okay, and you can put an apple in one of those. We'll have to shrink it down. Okay, and then another one you could put, we'll do orange. Okay, and I'm not going to bore you with all this. We can add these all day long. Okay, but I'll just put these 2 in there. Okay, and now you have to download this as a picture file, because Google Forms will only recognize like a true picture file for that. So we would have to download this. So we go to File and go to Download As, and we could choose Ping. And then, so you've got your word bank picture here. I'll go back to my form, and let's change this. We'll say this is sight words, okay? And we'll say use the bank, match the word to the picture, okay? And then we'll hit because you can add images, See, at the end of any option on your questions, you have the add image tool. So you could add image to the question. I'll drag my word bank up there. And it makes that part of the question. Okay. And you could say, oh, and this is kind of backwards, isn't it? But you could say, you know, in the instructions, we can add more information. We can add a description here. Which word represents picture A? Okay, and then you could put apple, orange. There's probably way easier ways to do this. Okay, but you know, somebody was asking me one day how you do a word bank. So you could do picture files that way, and you could put a word bank in with words or pictures, and just add it to the question that way. So that was just a quick rundown, but it's just a thought. I personally like these better with the fridge magnets and the number line, because you can put those into Google Classroom as an assignment and assign one to each kid. They each get their own drag and drop activity. And a lot of people are out there looking for drag and drop activities that are interactive to do with class, but you essentially want it to boil down to something that you can take a grade on. Right. And because interactive activities are pretty much just a while you're working in it kind of situation that you can't save it, this way you can kind of create your own, give each kid their own copy of it, and then they can drag and drop the way it's supposed to be, hit turn in, and then you have something visual that you can grade and assign values to. So, right. What do you think?
And you can have them alphabetizing this way.
Yeah, like, yeah, you could have them alphabetize all these words. True. Right. Put them in alphabetical order.
Or even if you're doing a literacy activity, you could have, you know, parts of the story and then put them in chronological order or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know,
uses for it.
That's a good example. So like with that, if we do a new one, so you could just essentially put the parts of the story in order, just like you're saying. And it's easy to do because with these shapes, like you could have a shape like this one, and you've seen this in tests where they've got these long bars like this. And, you know, you could say, Johnny got out of bed and brushed his teeth. And then the next one, you know, you could duplicate these and then just, you know, copy and actually, I think they've got a duplicate. No, they don't. But you could copy and paste it, move it down, and then add the next piece of the story in. So, you know, Johnny walked to school. Okay. And so you've got each of these going on. Hey, Kristen, can you hear us?
Yeah, now I can.
So just to kind of catch you up, we've been going through some different interactive tool ideas for Google Drawings. And one of the ideas that Beth had was to make a drawing where it had different pieces of the story and you had to put the story in the proper order. And like, you know, you've seen this on tests before, and you could put a background on this and make it a little bit more pleasant to look at. And then you could just leave it the way it is. And then what I was telling her earlier is because you can put this into Google Classroom, you could click Create Assignment. You can add your drawing to the assignment and then make a copy for each student. And because you can make a copy for each student, they can actually open their own copy, drag and drop the story pieces in order, or match the terms together, turn it in, and it gives you a visual assignment to grade. So, but like back on this one, you know, again, just like I said, you've seen these on tests before where they have to put the elements of the story in order. And, you know, you could make your own that way. Just pick out pieces of a story and duplicate each little piece and then add a new element to it and then put them out of order. Let's see, Johnny. Whoops. It'd help if I could type and spell today. And so there you've got your elements to your story. You can drag and drop them around and then the kids can turn them in. So back here, though, we were talking about using drawings for number lines in math, so they could represent like greater than, less than values. Doing fridge magnets for different vocabulary terms or Spanish terms and things like that. So
For that number line, did you copy and paste that off of like a Google image somewhere?
you know what? I can't remember because this is actually one that was old. I believe I did get that off of Google Images.
So you can put a Google image into
Yeah,
drawing.
yeah. You can do if you go to insert an image on any Google drawing and go over to search, it lets you do a Google safe search. So you're not using copyrighted material or offensive material. And then you can just type in number line. I think that's what I did actually. And then, yep, that's where I got that one. That's the exact one I used.
Okay.
Because it would take way too long to create that. I mean, you could, if you really wanted to, go through here and use the line tools and create little hash marks and then copy them. But because you can get some basic images out of there, just do it that way. And then I used the line tool to create this, and then I just colored it red. And because you can just resize those, the kids can size it to what it's supposed to be. You just give them what they need. You give them the question, and then they can do it. So, do you have any questions, Kristen? Because Beth was here at the beginning, but you joined us a little bit later. I know I said we could do a come and go kind of thing. So, and we are recording this, so it will be on YouTube later, so that if anybody missed it, they can watch it. So that's why Beth's camera is turned off right now.
We'll make it a good question.
So what kind of questions do you have? Nothing? Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah. This was actually a pretty short one, and what I had also kind of intended to do with this time that I was telling Beth earlier is we're going to go through and talk about some new things that Google has just released. So if you guys are okay with that, we can move on to that.
Okay.
Sound good? Okay. So I got an email a while back from Google about updates. And if you guys didn't know this, Google Apps does have Google Apps Update blog that you can go to. And what they typically will do is they will, at the end of every month, they'll do kind of a wrap up of what's new this month. So I'm going to try to go out to that blog and throw this up there so you can see it. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So the site that you're looking at is just gsuiteupdates.googleblog.com, and it's like I said, it's pretty simple. You can subscribe to it. They'll send you emails of what updates they have from time to time. Hopefully that's a little wrapped funny, but hopefully you get the idea. That's the website you go to. If you want to go to the top right and click subscribe by email, they'll send you updates on everything they do each month. They have an archive, and so if we go back to the October archive, you can see everything that they've updated. They haven't really announced in the blog one of the things I'm going to show you, and this is actually something I sent out by email earlier this week. They kind of snuck this one in, but on Google Forms, one of the things that they were kind of sneaky in doing, and I'd kind of rather use a different one for this. So let me see if I can find a Google form to show you. It's the fact that you can now, if you give a Google form as a quiz, you can have it automatically import the grades into Classroom. And so, I wish I had a good one. Root word pre-quiz. Let's open that one. I have no idea what this is. Okay. Let's say, for instance, this is a test, and this is just something I did in class. So that's why the questions are so totally random and weird. So if you can ignore that, that'd be great. But up at the top, when you click on the gear and you go to quizzes, you probably already know that you can make any Google form into a quiz. And if you turn on the immediately after each submission thing, it'll tell them what their score is. But what's interesting about this is, like, you go to the answer key, you put in your point value, you tell it the correct answer, go through each question and do that. And then when you get ready to put this into Google Classroom, click Create Assignment, and I'm going to attach that root word pre-quiz. We'll click Add, and this is new. This part right here just appeared recently. It's Enable Grade Importing. And so basically what will happen is, like the old way, if kids took a quiz and they got a score on the quiz, you would have to then type in the scores into Google Classroom. And this way, with this switch turned on, once the kids complete the quiz, then there's a button up there that says Import Grades. And so once all the kids are finished, you can click Import Grades, and it will put the scores into Google Classroom for you. Now, the benefit to this is if you're also syncing with WinGauge, then that saves you some steps, because if you sync with WinGauge and then you use a Google form as a quiz, as soon as the kids are done taking the test, you click Import Grades, it puts them in Google Classroom, you hit Return, go over to WinGauge, click one button, and it imports them over there, and you're done. You don't have to tally up any scores, you don't have to hand enter any scores into WinGauge. It does it all for you on both sides. So that's kind of a handy tool. A lot of the other updates that they've had on their blog recently have been more geared towards the admin dashboard. But the other thing you can do on the blog, if you've never done this, is you can also search, like if you wanted to see what updates had to do with Google Slides, then they'll go back and they'll show you any updates. And it's real easy to miss some of these things too, because they kind of sneak them in, and if you don't subscribe to their blog, or if you're not watching, you may not realize that they've done some of the things that they do, like inserting videos into Google Drive. That was back in February. If you have videos in your Drive, you can actually put them into a slideshow, or you can add videos from YouTube and you can edit them. And like, say for instance, you've got a 3-minute video on YouTube that you want to use, but you only want 30 seconds of it, you can insert it into the slide and you can tell it when to start and when to stop. Things like that they sneak in on you that you may not know about, they'll tell you in this update blog. So,
Well, that's cool.
So yeah, that's it. gsuiteupdates.googleblog.com. Just hit the subscribe by email, and then you'll get emails, and it'll also you can also add them to your calendar, I believe. There's some place on their site where you can do that, and I apologize, I don't know where that is right now, but I have it on my calendar so that when updates are coming up due, it appears in my calendar, and I can kind of keep tabs on what's going on and know, like for instance, one of the things that's coming up on October 30th, they're going to retire some Google Data admin settings. Now, that's something I need to know, but it wouldn't really pertain to you guys. But as they announce things like that, it appears in the calendar, and you'll kind of know when it's happening, and you can just kind of stay up to date on it. So, any questions?
No?
All right. Last thing, unless you guys have a question, is I don't know if you guys saw this come up this morning, but we're going to be hosting at the high school a Google Meetup. And if you're not already part of the Google Educators group for Oklahoma, we're going to have our first meetup in the high school cafeteria on November 11th from 9 to noon. I tried to steer clear of Bedlam weekend because I knew I'd have a lot of people that were going to the OU-OSU game. So this is on November 11th. We'll be in the cafeteria. It'll be a time when you can just engage in roundtable discussions about different topics, kind of get new information about what's going on with Google, get a chance to collaborate and meet people from other school districts, because this is a statewide thing. Anybody from across the state that's part of the GEG can join and attend that weekend. So if you want to do that, you can just go to the GEG Oklahoma page. Just go to plus.google.com and look up GEG Oklahoma, and you'll find the link to the community, and then you can click on the link to register for the workshop. So, okay?
Okay.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll make this available to anybody that wants to watch it. So